In Meghalaya, for many, football is religion. So is politics. And some agree that politics here is a lot like football.
Politics in Meghalaya, or government formation in Meghalaya is like football, you know. The same people, but just changing the uniforms. And it's been happening now for the last 15, 20 years.
Go down and get the ball. If Mitchell comes, play back. If he doesn't come, turn.
For every player, in every game, there seems to be just one goal. Topple one government and form the next.
People will have different perception to how people take politics. But as far as we are concerned, we have set agenda to serve the people, and we have the set goal, set objective, and with that, when we go, we know that we will score goal, and then we know how to defend ourselves.
The owner of Meghalaya's first nationally successful Lajong football club accepts that instability is in the DNA of Meghalaya politics.
Being a small state with hardly 60 seats, I guess even one MLA at times can form or topple a government.
Few kilometers away from this practice ground, when the elected politicians walk into the assembly, they represent perhaps what is India's most unstable state when it comes to elections. There have been as many as 23 governments in the last 40 years. In the last 5 years, there have been 4 governments. And in between, there was president's rule. It can't get worse than this.
Democratic anarchy or a political analyst's nightmare, and yet rarely talked about.
I think this is not the career of Meghalaya alone. If you look at states like Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Goa, the frequent change of governments has been a marked feature of the local politics.
Bordered by Assam and Bangladesh, Meghalaya has 2 main divisions, the Khasi and Jaintia hills to the east and the Garo hills to the west. These 2 distinct areas, some believe, lie at the root of Meghalaya's political instability.
One of the reasons could be the fact that there are distinctly 2 different communities in the state, the Khasis and the Garos.
So could elections in 2013 reverse this instability? Or will the next government be yet another avatar of the Congress or the UDP?
Single government which will be with a mandate which will enable us to have a number crossing the halfway mark and to ensure stability and progress and prosperity of the government, of the state.
To understand Meghalaya politics better, we journey to what is possibly India's most beautiful state. The land of the floating clouds, where unfortunately governments fall like 9 pins. A rally on National Voters' Day to encourage people in Shillong to vote. In its last election, Meghalaya saw a record 76% turnout.
I want to vote because I thought that I want a good government, a better government with less of instability.
Fire in the mountain, run, run, run. Fire in the mountain, run, 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 run.
At Nongkrem village, a group of women sing and play Fire in the Mountain,
Fire in the mountain,
parodying the political musical chairs that play out here. This election too has 3 former chief ministers and 1 deputy chief minister in the fray.
It bothers a lot because I don't want, what I have chosen, that tomorrow somebody else will stand in his place. If we'll stand united, the whole state, the government will not take advantage of us in that way,
We meet more youngsters at a vocational training center. This first-time voter says she doesn't want her vote to go waste.
Do they think that the government is doing enough?
Do they trust the government, I ask, and everyone starts laughing.
We just want the government to do good work for us.
Again, there's laughter, but it fails to hide Meghalaya's now chronic backwardness.
Poverty has always been a problem, not only confined to Meghalaya. And poverty and backwardness go hand in hand. And therefore, addressing backwardness and poverty is the biggest challenge.
But despite all the minuses, the enthusiasm to vote remains.
We just go out and vote because we think that maybe whatever happens yesterday, that is gone. And whatever will happen today, onwards, there's something new, something good will come to us.
We expect that the poll may be 80 to 85,000. That means the poll may be...
Pushing for change across Meghalaya is Ardent Basaumat, a legislator from Nongkrem. Ardent connects easily with the people, but agrees that cleaning up politics will be tough.
The present situation is quite uncertain. We never know which party will come to power and how many parties will share.
But there are other issues. The Hill State People's Democratic Party, Meghalaya's oldest regional party, is pushing for a separate Khasi Jaintia state. They want permits for outsiders and better protection of indigenous tribal land rights. Linked to this is their opposition to uranium mining. At Shillong's Presbyterian Church, Reverend Prito, a politically active pastor, underlines critical issues that are being ignored.
Number one is land. And this land issue is linked with alienation, it's linked with mining, and it is also linked with the border issue. And number two, it's poverty. There is a sharp rise of inequality in our state. 40 years of our existence as a state, BPL population is increasing by the day.
That inequality is linked to the rise of powerful coal and cement lobbies in the state. Politics, many believe, is hostage to this group.
You have the coal lobby on the one side, they are very strong, they have so many candidates this time. Then you have the cement lobby on the other side. All of them are jostling for power, for control over the government.
In 2012, we travelled to the mineral-rich Jaintia Hills. Activist Bama Jao showed us the illegal mining plants that operate in the forests.
Many of the headmen, local people, even Daloy also, who was the head of the Elaka, they have bought by the cement company to support them. That is very difficult for us as the Jaintia Youth Federation to fight with this cement company.
Right to information activist Angela Raigad asserts that big corporations regularly exploit the indigenous people and that corruption is now chronic in Meghalaya.
Meghalaya, we're always at the bottom of everything, but it's the reverse when it comes to corruption. And sadly, in the northeast, Meghalaya has been at the forefront of corruption. Probably many people would not have heard at the national level of these scams which have taken place here, whether it's the central scams of the CGI sheet distribution or the PDS and food scams of the ICDS, etc. But all of these years, there have been some scam or the other. And our government seems to always sort of keep quiet about it.
Activists from civil society have taken the place of the political opposition. That's been led for years by Purno Sangma, the grand old man of Meghalaya politics. But in spite of the credibility crisis, Sangma's son remains optimistic.
If you look at the specifics of the constituencies, our numbers have remained the same in spite of the fact that we were in opposition for past 10 years now almost. So we are hoping that we will be able to improve on that in this particular term.
Code of conduct will aid the prevention.
Many prominent politicians face corruption allegations, including Ampreen Lingdo, the state's lone woman MLA, and first-time Member of Parliament Vincent Pala. But they brush off the charges.
See, corruption cannot be done by a politician alone, I'm telling you. Corruption has to be involved by everybody. Because the money from wherever it comes, it doesn't go to the pocket of politician direct. Money, it goes from different levels.
It's something like, a disease, a cancer, so it goes...
Chief Minister Mukul Sangma is aware of the problems Meghalaya faces from the corporate and mining lobbies.
They have tried to dictate in the past. They have tried to dictate during my time also, but they have failed. Okay, so it's not that the same similar situation will be seen in the future.
Also causing a little bit of insecurity in the mind of the non-tribals.
Sharing political space with Mukul Sangma is John Kharsing, head of the Grand Tribal Chiefs and part of Meghalaya's three-tier system of governance, which includes the state government, the autonomous district councils and traditional tribal institutions.
You have three sort of levels of authority, each not knowing which is his scope of jurisdiction. Amending all this requires an active participation by the centre, because at the end of the day it would require constitutional amendments.
Many believe such institutions exclude non-tribals from the benefits of governance.
In Meghalaya, you have oligarchy, because these traditional institutions, they are oligarchs, a few people from the ruling clan becoming the chieftain and presiding over a lot of community land, giving it away or selling it off. I mean, they do just whatever they want.
Dr. Shubroto Das represents another fault line. He rewinds to the largely unreported violence of 1979, when Bengalis in Meghalaya were targeted and many driven out of the state. This election doesn't hold much promise for him.
Stable government should come, number one. And it should deliver. It should deliver in a sense that there should be inclusive growth. Only for a particular section, if they do something, this is not benefiting us. Us means the minorities here in Meghalaya.
Michael CM was a young man when he got into politics as the first president of the Khasi Students' Union, leading the movement in Shillong, inspired by the Assam agitation. Tribal or non-tribal, he believes it's the poor who are ignored.
In terms of development, whether it's tribal or non-tribal, instead of the percentage of BPL going down, it has risen up from 49 to 66%. So I think the divide between the have and the have-nots have increased.
Ethnic political groupings remain relevant in elections. But for some, the issue of ethnic identity is way past. Novo Bhattacharji's family is a fine example. His wife is Khasi, and their daughters belonging to both communities.
This gap has been bridged so quickly. I think their wounds have healed and people are starting to come together. There's really no such disparity between somebody who's a half Khasi and half something or a person who's fully tribal.
As Meghalaya keeps throwing up hung assemblies, 26-year-old Avnar Paryat has an interesting solution. Embrace Rule 49.0 of the Constitution that allows him not to vote.
There's an option that they don't need to simply go to the polling stations and choose forcibly, We want them to sort of understand that they have the right to choose the best candidate for the job. They can go there, they can get themselves registered as a voter, but they needn't choose from amongst those people that are up for sale.
Coming up, the myth of women's safety in Meghalaya's matrilineal society.
Just because lineage is from the mother does not necessarily empower the woman in any way.
The voices of women in Meghalaya have always been prominent. At least that is what one is made to believe. According to tradition, family names and wealth pass from mother to daughter and not from father to son.
I keep saying it's a matrilineal society with a very, very patriarchal worldview. The worldview is as patriarchal as the next state of Assam or Nagaland or whatever. Just because lineage is from the mother does not necessarily empower the woman in any way.
Between 2002 and 2012, over 830 cases of rape were reported in Meghalaya, disturbing numbers for a matrilineal society.
In reality, we are not safe.
And this matrilineal, the word matrilineal is not safeguarding us. In 2002, one girl was picked up by a group of boys in a van, and she was raped, gang raped, and later on dropped under the bridge. And till date, we are waiting for the justice.
These rapes not only break the myth about the safety of women in a matrilineal society, but it also points out to the complete absence of a collective voice against such crimes in Meghalaya.
The Garo Hills are the most backward part of the state. Local anger has fueled militant groups like the Garo National Liberation Army, though its founder, Champion Sangma, could contest elections this time. Draft peace agreements have also been signed with another Garo underground outfit, the Achik National Volunteer Council.
The whole issue of problem which is linked to backwardness and lack of opportunities is also linked to militancy. Therefore, the comprehensive and practical approach which we have adopted is basically to address this root cause. There cannot be a quick fix to such kind of problem.
I don't believe.
In the Khasi Hills, I meet Victory Karsinpyu, who runs a school. I ask her if she feels angry about government inefficiency. Her response, or the lack of it, seems to say it all.
There is no point to become angry at them. But we want that we want the government to be stable in that way.
It is my duty to vote. I have not seen much difference in the last 5 years. I can't afford to put my son in school.
On Shillong streets too, we find this simple faith in the electoral process, a faith that is being misused by those elected. As Meghalaya gets closer to election day, we meet the Shillong Chamber Choir and ask their founder what their music is all about.
Music is about unity. It's about progress. It's about, sacrifice. It's about thinking about the welfare of your fellow human being.
If only the political leadership of Meghalaya shared the same ideals.
मुझे गर्व है हिंदुस्तान पर, मुझे गर्व है तिरंगे पर.